What is that change going to look like, Don? What practically, your father as president, I think you would even say, was a divisive figure. What's it going to look like in the second term?
I don't think he was a divisive figure at all. I think the media created divisiveness around him. They lied about Russia collusion. They said he was a traitor. They went after him in every which way as possible. If the media actually starts being an honest broker, talking about the things that he did, the prosperity he brought, the peace deals that he signed around the world, rather than the disaster that we're living right now, I think you'd do everyone in the country a big favor.
I know immigration's important to him. I covered the family separation crisis closely. Will we continue to see policies like separating 5,000 children deliberately from their parents?
You mean the Obama administration?
You know they didn't do that, sir.
Okay, sure.
Will there be a second family separation policy?
It's MSDNC, so I expect nothing less from you clowns. Even today, even 48 hours later, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait with your lies and with your nonsense. So just get out of here.
That was a very triggered Donald Trump Jr., pretty much unable to respond to two very simple questions about what his father's agenda would be in a second term. And let's pray that second term never comes. But he was being asked policy questions and was pushing back and was triggered and was angry and was unable to respond. One, probably because he doesn't know the answer. And two, because obviously Donald Trump lately has been trying to separate himself from his very unpopular agenda, more specifically Project 2025 as a whole. But Don Jr. wasn't only pushing away from the question, too scared to answer. He was trying to conflate it. He was trying to act like it was a personal attack. He said, really, 48 hours later? Suggesting that it's very level-headed and straightforward policy questions like this, checking Donald Trump's record, checking him on his rhetoric, checking him on what his second-term agenda would be, that have caused the political violence that we saw 2 days ago. And that's just not the case. It's not the case that asking Donald Trump about his policy, debating policy, saying that your record is not one that will move this country forward is what causes political violence. It's just not true. And Donald Trump and his son, both, as people who have stoked the flames of this political violence, who have dehumanized their opponents, called them their enemies, called them evil, they should know that. And of course, Donald Trump Jr. is just projecting here. He has made attacks on Joe Biden's character and has invited anger and hate and threats against him, invited his supporters into that cult of anger. They have normalized it with their rhetoric, so obviously they are projecting here. But he was extremely upset, and so he went and he complained, Donald Trump Jr. did, on Newsmax in a later interview. Let's check this out.
Actually, Rob, I dealt with it today on the floor. I'm going onto the floor to help cast the delegates for, with my brother, who's, I guess, the chief delegate from Florida. I was one of them. We throw my father over the ballot, the nomination. And there's a clown there from MSNBC. So does this bring back the vitriol and Trump rhetoric that we experience? I go, wait, was it Trump or was it you guys? Because I know Trump created peace. He did peace deals in the Middle East. That was the Holy Grail. He created prosperity. He created jobs. All of that noise, all of the vitriol was created by you guys. You guys peddled Russia. Yeah. You called half the country fascists and Nazis and everything else you could call them for 8 years. It was all nonsense. It didn't matter. You guys did. It was you guys that did that. Well, what do you say about Trump putting children in cages? I go, oh, you mean the Obama administration cages? Yeah, the Obama administration. That's not true. We can fact check him in real time because it is true, and everyone knows it.
Yeah, it is
but
true.
He tries it. So I said, listen, man, you're a clown. You're doing the. You couldn't wait 48 hours. They couldn't wait 48 hours, Rob, to go back to doing their job, which is being the lapdogs of a propaganda leftist regime. That's the Democrat Party today. It's failed us.
Really? The vitriol was created by us? People in the media, Democrats, pushing back against Donald Trump's destructive agenda? That was the rhetoric sparking evil? Saying that we have to stop family separation at the border? We have to have a level-headed leadership addressing the COVID crisis? We can't cut big tax cuts for the rich? That was the type of rhetoric that causes political violence. It wasn't Donald Trump encouraging his supporters to beat up protesters, saying, I'll pay your legal bills, I'll pay your fines if you do it. It wasn't Donald Trump saying of Charlottesville there were good people on both sides. It wasn't Donald Trump inciting the January 6th insurrection. That wasn't the evil and angry and fear-mongering rhetoric that has gotten us to this place. I think it is. I think it is, Don Jr., and I think that the questions that you were asked at the RNC were totally fair. But he clearly doesn't. And I think someone who did a really great job, actually, in fact, at the RNC, shutting down this talking point that Don Jr. is trying to push, is Jessica Tarlov. So let's check out what she had to say.
Border, it's focusing on crime.
The themes of his campaign.
Yeah.
Which, that totally makes sense to me, but I do want to push back on what David was saying about essentially saying that this is a problem that came from the Democratic side. And I would hope that we could take a little time off before we get to this. But the rhetoric out of the Republican side, out of Donald Trump himself or Don Jr. about the attack on Paul Pelosi, mocking him, making up a rumor that this was some gay sex event, right? And wasn't a terrible attack by someone who was politically motivated and could have taken his life. No. That is the genesis of this. This goes back to 2016.
Well, you can chicken and egg.
So we see Jessica name-check Donald Trump Jr. directly, calling him out for the jokes that he made at the expense of Paul Pelosi after he was attacked by one of Donald Trump's supporters. And talk about dehumanizing someone. Let's look at the rhetoric of Donald Trump attacking Nancy Pelosi and the way that the right has tried to cast her as this evil figure instead of someone that they have policy disagreements with. When we talk about Donald Trump, sure, we talk about his lack of character. That's evident. He is a criminal. That's not an opinion. That came down from a jury. But when Donald Trump Jr. is saying that Joe Biden is trying to attack and assassinate his father because when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, and not at the instruction of Joe Biden, but when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, that was an attack on Donald Trump. They were coming after him, even though he was at his golf club in New Jersey at the time. This is the type of conspiratorial rhetoric. This is the type of angry rhetoric, fearful rhetoric pushed by Don Jr., pushed by Donald Trump, that does heighten the temperature, raise the stakes, make people angry, and normalize political violence. Like I said, laughing at the attack on Paul Pelosi after encouraging it by Donald Trump isn't just taking no accountability, but it is encouraging those actions, and it normalizes those actions. Now, we opened up by saying Donald Trump Jr. was very triggered. He was unable to answer the question, but this hasn't been the only time that he has given a poor performance at a big conservative gathering. And I think one example that comes to mind is this that he had to say at Turning Point USA just a bit ago, just a couple weeks ago. Let's check it out.
We're never going to surrender. It's not our style, man. We don't. At this point, we got to fight, because congratulations. If you're in this room right now, you're probably on the FBI list. You're in with me, my father, my family, so you're in with good company. I am on every list except the Epstein list. We haven't heard anything about that one in a while. I'm fine with all the other lists. As long as I'm not on the Epstein list, we're good, right? Speaking of which, how is it that my father can be convicted of 34 crimes, but no one on Epstein's list has even been brought to light? I'm trying to figure out how that's possible, right, folks? It's almost like they're trying to protect those pedophiles for some reason. I can't imagine why, right? We're not allowed to say they're groomers, but when they act a lot like groomers, sort of tells you everything you need to know, right?
So that was Don Jr. I don't know why he brought it up, but saying that his father wasn't on the Epstein list, which of course isn't true. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends. They were associates. Donald Trump spoke very highly of Epstein. He wished Ghislaine Maxwell well. He said, I wish her well when asked about her. So I don't know why Donald Trump Jr. wanted to put that forward when it's such a losing issue for them. But then he decided to go and double down on that assertion and posted this on Twitter. He said, you know who's not on the Epstein list? My father. Because if he was, it would have leaked in about a half second. That's a fact. And very quickly, probably in a half second, this community note was given, adding a little bit of context, saying Donald Trump was on Epstein's flight logs at least 7 times. Here are the receipts straight from the court records in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. So no, Don, they weren't leaked. They were shown in court. And I don't know why he would bring this up. Not a great issue for the Trumps. But like I said, Don Jr., not a lot of great performances at these big conservative speaking events. And because Don Jr. has upset me, and because I think we should end this segment on a funnier note, I'd like to show this collection of clips from the Lincoln Project of Don Jr. speaking at CPAC a little bit ago. Let's check this out.
Your fully semi-automatic 40-shot clip bag. Our children is worth fighting for. Don Jr. committed treason. Yeah. Fact check. True. Remember, you guys get canceled for being conspiracy theorists. Let's just talk about this for a second. I totally understand addiction. We gotta work on that stuff because those people have lost their minds. Right? Yeah, this is what we're up against. They're lying to you about everything.
Wow. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have Don Jr. speak. Maybe we should just stop doing that. It doesn't seem to go well for him. I know he does a podcast multiple times a week. I'm not sure why. It seems like he wants to be embarrassing himself every time he speaks. Doesn't really think a lot before the words come out of his mouth. But that's his choice. And I guess we'll just make content out of it. But if you liked that funny video, and if you don't like Donald Trump Jr., and you want to be a part of a movement that is combating people like him, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You subscribe to this channel. We are new, but we are growing fast. Make sure you like this video. And as always, please drop a blue heart in the comments if you stuck around to the end so I can thank you for your support, so I can thank you for being a part of this growing channel. It really means the world to me. And until next time, I will see you soon.